Hi, it's Lynn, your adulting coach. Thank you so much to Lori for submitting her struggle in a recent email. We really appreciate hearing from everybody because when we share our struggles, we can also share the solutions that have worked for each other. So she wants to know, how can she help them believe in themselves and try things that are hard but that they are capable of doing? That supporting them and learning how to take care of themselves instead of enabling them by doing things for them all the time, things that they want to be able to do but believe they can't, like cooking for themselves and keeping track of their schedule and making friends. This is such a good question because it's what we all want to do. So I suggest that they need to develop 3 disciplines. This is the first discipline, responsive discipline, so they make good decisions. And the first practice is to accept what is. She needs to accept that this is a skill that she's going to have to practice to learn. It's just going to take time. It's not going to be easy, so it's going to be a little bit painful. It's going to be a little uncertain as to how it's going to turn out. And she's just going to have to do the work. There's no way to level up your skills without doing the work. So we have to accept that it's going to take work. As parents, as guides for them, for our autistic graduates, we need to accept the work that's in front of us as well. We know this is going to take time. We've seen the amount of extra support that our kids needed in school, and they got through that. And now we know that if we give them the right amount of support, they will also be okay on their own someday. So that's what we have to accept and believe that it's possible. Bit by bit, we're going to put it together and make it possible for them to live the life that they want. Not going to look the same for everybody. We're going to have different strengths and weaknesses. They're going to have different kinds of supports. That's perfectly fine. But if we can believe, and belief is just a collection of thoughts that we find true. So the second practice is to notice the thoughts that we have on this topic and see if we can wiggle them a little bit. Just by adding sometimes a phrase at the beginning or at the end of the thought, just to see if we can't find. There are so many things that we cannot control, but the one thing we can control is the way that we think. That's all going on inside of us. So the good news is we have the power to control it. So when we believe, we look at what's happening. They need to learn how to cook. They need to learn how to manage their schedule. They need to know how to make friends. So what is, let's break this down into small steps they believe they can try. Because that's all confidence is the willingness to try. Now what? Well, they go try it, and then what? They get a result. And that's how we want to sort out what's going on inside of their heads, the beliefs, the thoughts that they're repeating to themselves that are creating the belief that it's not possible for them to do these skills that we know they can do. And when we connect with them, the idea is to help them see that thinking. So often it just spins around just like the washing machine with a bunch of clothes that, you can't distinguish one from the other when it's in the spin cycle. But when we slow it down and use our senses, not just our thoughts, but we use our eyes, we use our ears, we use our mouth, and we use our hands to sort this out. So we listen to each other. We scribe it so that we write it down so we can actually see what's happening. We explain the thinking that's going on, and we figure out by using our hands, writing it down, how we can change it by adding, it's possible, or maybe, or at the end, and that's okay, we'll figure it out. And that's okay, I've done this before. Or that's okay, I've learned new things before, because they all have, or they would not have been able to make it this far. So connecting with ourselves is also so important at this point. We have to understand what are the thoughts that create the sometimes impatient responses that we get, or the heavy sighs, or the other ways that we communicate to them that we don't have confidence that they can do these new things. We need to make sure that we're centered and that we're in a good place, a place that's hopefully fueled by love, because that just is the best emotion of all. Now that we're all connected, let's figure out how to structure what needs to happen next, and that's the structural discipline. Okay, we anchor in what's important to them and decide the very next thing that we're going to do. We right size it so that it's a task that they're confident they can do, because we want to maximize their motivation, which is their confidence that they can do something. They expect it's going to turn out okay, times the importance to them, so that we want to maximize their importance, and we want to minimize their distractions, which is how easily taken off course they are and how far away the reward is. So if we can right size the task so that the reward isn't too far away, and we make it so that it's compelling, and we remove as many of the distractions as we can, we'll maximize the motivation and minimize the distraction to come out with the maximum motivation to get it done. That's what we need to do next. All right, so now that we've got the structure in place, we know when this is going to happen, we know what the requirements are in terms of the materials, we know, we schedule it on our calendar. Then we feel the fear and get through it to do that scary thing anyway. This is where we expand. This is our expansive discipline. We expand our skills. And there are 3 practices here. We look at our thoughts. Oh, I don't know if I can put a pan inside of a hot oven. Okay, if that's something, let's address it. Let's get them those UGG gloves so they can set it right in and not even feel the heat. Let's just find what are the thoughts that are convincing them that it's just too much. When we can find those thoughts, then we can wiggle them. Well, I thought this, but now that you've talked to me about it, I realize that if we, take care of it this way, it's possible. Then we act, we go do it. We feel that fear, because it's going to keep coming up, because that brain's going to offer them thoughts that protects them against anything that could go wrong, saves all their resources, and helps them find the pleasure in life. Well, we're going to make sure that they know what needs to be done in as much of a step-by-step fashion as possible, supporting them especially the first few times around until they get more confidence that they can do it in a more independent fashion. And that's when we act, and then we debrief together in our partnership process, figuring out what went well, what we could do better next time, and then schedule the next experiment to expand our discipline this way. So that's how these 7 practices work together, and I really hope that you'll join me in the Art of Adulting, where I give you even more tools to address each of those 7 practices. I put the 7 practices together because, this is a marathon we're on. But I realized after talking to, after more than 1,700, close to 1,700 conversations with autistic young adults and their families, that the things that needed to be done fell into these 7 categories. There's 7 days in the week, so let's be aware of them, each day. And if the only thing we do is think about them each day of the week, we will continuously level up our skills and our awareness of where we are in each of those practices, so that we can be the guide they need to increase their independence. Bye for now.